Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glow Cloud team.
All right. Hello. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another Cloud Computing Career Q&A session with us at Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, joined by Mike Gibbs, our founder and CEO, and Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer. And we are here to answer any questions that you might have about your cloud computing career or potential cloud computing career. If you're interested in becoming a cloud architect or a cloud engineer, or you want to know what the cloud architect job or cloud engineer job is like, this is your place to ask the questions. If you want to know what to do for cloud architect training or cloud engineer training, or anything of that nature, feel free to ask your questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you reach your dream of getting that cloud architect career or getting that cloud engineer career if that's what you choose to do. Here at Go Cloud Careers, we tend to focus on the cloud architect, but we're more than welcome to answer any questions that you might have about the different cloud computing careers. So before we get started, I want to see if Mike or Alonso have anything to say. And I also want to encourage all of you, ask us your questions. That's why we're here. We are here to answer your questions and help you. We can't help you if we don't have questions to answer. So ask us your questions. So Mike or Alonso, you guys got anything to say before we get started?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Chris, he just echoed everything that I was thinking. We are here. We have all this experience. We've helped dozens, perhaps hundreds of people to get to their cloud job trajectories, careers, and goals. And we're able to make that happen. So please, there are no such things as any dumb questions or anything that you feel that might seem too simplistic for us to answer. We're here to support your goals, your aspirations, to understand what a cloud architect does and how you're going to be able to leverage your current skills for that goal. So fire away.
And the reason we come and do this is there's so many mistakes that people make. And, if you know exactly how to get there, you'll go straight there and you'll get there very quickly. But if you're not sure how to go, it's going to be like a zigzag path. For example, there's certifications that people do that we almost take them off of people's resumes because it makes them look unfavorable. And I'd rather someone not waste their time on that and focus the time on something that's going to be good for them. Likewise, there's certifications that support someone's brand. People often confuse certification with training. And while certification is a great way to say, I know how to use Amazon stuff, it doesn't teach you all the stuff that you need to know to do the job. So it's a matter of learn what you need to know and then figure out how to polish your resume and build your brand, and certifications can help you do that. And it's about, what do I need to learn? I can't tell you how many people come to me that want to become a cloud architect that spent the last 2 years learning Python, learning Terraform, learning DevOps, learning SysOps, learning code. And in the end, they've got a job that doesn't require any of that, but it requires design skills or stakeholder management skills or leadership skills or sales skills or executive presence. And I hate to see people work so hard to learn the wrong things. In the end, they have to start over from the beginning. So that's why I do this. I've been in tech now, wow. I actually look back at since 1993 was when I started, but my first big tech job was in 1996. So we're going back a long time. I worked with the first 3 clouds that existed. Frame Relay was around in early 1990s. I started working with it in 1996. Worked with the ISDN cloud in 1993. Worked on the ATM cloud in 1999. And I even worked with the service providers to design their clouds, the VPLS cloud, the BGP cloud, and other clouds as well. And I've been doing it forever. So ask your questions so we can help you build a technology career that's truly going to get you to your goal. And that's really what I want to do for you. So we have free webinars where we help out. We have this free session once a week. People call every day and ask for my help. And I try to help. Now, if they want to get a phone call with me, it's literally, I'm not joking now, 19 and a half weeks for a $1,200 an hour phone call. And that's why I come online 2-3 times a week completely for free to answer your questions. So please ask me and let's do what we can to help you.
All right. So while we're waiting on some of these questions to come in, let me tell everybody about a few things. The first thing I want to tell everybody about is we've got your completely free guide to help you figure out how to get your first cloud architect job. So make sure to get that. The link will be in the chat box. Tyrone will be sharing that in the chat box there. You can also find it in the description. That's completely free to you. Developed by myself, Mike, and Alonso. Heavily influenced by Mike more than me and Alonso. but that's got the secret sauce to help you get started on the right path, and make sure you're doing everything necessary to become the ultimate cloud architect. So get that free resource. The other thing that I want to tell everybody about is Alonso's birthday was last week. All right, so Alonso decided he was going to have a discount for his birthday last week. And over the weekend, we sent an email out about it on Friday. And over the weekend, we got so many messages about people asking us if we can extend it, because we were only going to have it available through the weekend. But so Alonzo decided he wanted to continue celebrating his birthday. Who can blame the guy? I mean, it's his birthday. Why not? So we've extended Alonzo's 30% birthday discount. And this discount is actually available on all of our programs. Most of the time, we don't have discounts available on all of our programs. But this is available on everything. Alonzo's asking, he said, I really want to do it on everything for everybody. So this is available on our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. It's available on our Elite Cloud Architect Bundle, which includes the Cloud Architect Program, our Tech Interview Mastery Program, our Tech Leadership Development. It includes those 3 private one-on-one consultations that Mike was just mentioning take forever to schedule. That's all included in that Elite program. You can save up to $2,500 off of that Elite program. You can also take advantage of our payment plans, 3-month payment plans, 6-month payment plans, to if you need to bring that cost down a little bit for yourself on a monthly basis, we've got those available for you too, to make it more affordable and more approachable for everybody. But please take advantage of that. You can see the link. I believe the link that Tyrone shared in the descriptions to our regular Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That's the one that you see us always talking about. The ones that all the people have been successful from. But if you're interested in the other ones, you can click that link. And then there's a little thing at the top that says all courses or all programs. And if you're interested in one of the other ones, by all means, use that discount anywhere on the website. So that's the 2 things that I wanted to make sure to mention to everybody today. Tyrone's got that link in the chat box for YouTube. I'm going to put the link here in the chat box for LinkedIn in just a second after I put up this first question, because I can only do so many multitasking at once. So again, happy birthday, Alonzo. We're going to keep celebrating this for a while. And thank you for encouraging us to do this. Let's see. Let's get to some of these questions here. All right. So we've got from Jalen on LinkedIn. Jalen says, I come from an insurance background. I've recently completed my Security Plus certification and I'm interested in more customer-facing roles in cloud. Any recommendations or tips?
Absolutely. We can easily help you here. Now, if you have the ability to tell me what you've done in insurance, that could actually help me out a lot, because you could be in the actuary environment in the insurance where you're calculating risk. You could be in the adjustment business, or you could actually be finding the right kind of plan for someone and selling it to them. So if we know a little bit about you, we can give you a little more information. But you mentioned the Security Plus. The Security Plus is one of the reasons we do these live question and answer sessions, because we advise people not to do that because employers don't love it. But here's the thing. In that certification, you may have actually learned something, which we can apply to something else. And life is absolutely cumulative, so I'm going to help you. Now, the role of the cloud architect, the solutions architect, is pretty much the same job. The difference is the cloud architect works across multiple clouds, and the solution architect only works across one cloud. We also have security architects, and we'd have to upgrade your security knowledge, but that's okay, that design security solutions on the cloud. We have cloud network architects that also architect networking solutions on the cloud. So there's a lot of things that we can do in the customer-facing role. Now, Jalen, congratulations on selecting a customer-facing role, because in the world of artificial intelligence, customer-facing roles cannot be replaced. They simply cannot. We've got to interact with the client. We've got to find out their business needs. We've got to find out their business vision. We need to learn how their business operates, learn, how their routes to revenue, learn how their operations work, learn the customer journey, and all this is necessary for any of these customer-facing roles, like a cloud architect or a solution architect or an enterprise architect. So good job on that. Customer-facing roles also pay a lot more, so good job on that as well. Now, you could easily become a cloud architect, cloud security architect, or cloud network architect with the right training, but I don't know what you want to do. But let's say you desire to be a cloud architect. The first thing I'm going to recommend is you download the completely free guide, How to Become a Cloud Architect. And while you're downloading that free guide, it'll tell you everything you need to learn. I'm going to tell you right now, 50 to 60% of it is business, and 40 to 50% of it is the tech. And what is this tech? At least if it's the cloud is nothing more than somebody else's network in a data center. That means you're going to need to know networking, data center, and cloud technologies. Now, in customer-facing roles, they're going to be different, whether they're sales engineer, whether they're an architect, whether they're basically a sales executive, which are all different. The sales executive role will require the most business acumen. The sales engineer role will require the least business acumen. And the solutions architect or the cloud architect or the enterprise architect is going to require tremendous business acumen. So I'd really like to know your goals. It's not what you've done in the past, it's what you want to do in the future. But as a rule, these roles, except for the sales engineer, require something called CXO relevancy. And of course, we teach this in our architect program. And that is, how do you communicate to the C-level executive in a language they can understand? Because if I talk to a C-level executive about the speed of the server, they're going to kick me out of the room with security. But if I talk to them how increasing this computational power they have can enable them new routes to revenue via this, this, and this, now they're interested. So it's about speaking to them in their language. The next thing you need to have is what's called executive presence. And I'll show you. Hi, my name is Mike Gibbs, and I'm a cloud architect. I can do that, but nobody's going to talk to me. Hi, I'm Mike Gibbs. I'm a cloud architect. So you'll have to develop executive presence. We train people for that. I took lots of training for it in my life as well, even after my MBA program. The next thing is you got to have some very strong leadership skills for any of these sales roles or architect roles. And here's why. We don't just buy or sell to one person in these environments. We're dealing with 10 million and 20 million, 100 million and $1 billion plus solutions, which means we're dealing with enterprises that have various business unit, extended partners. And because of that, we're going to have to lead the client into a lot of stakeholder management. And then when we're done and we're going to design it, no solution is ever built by one person. So we're going to have to build the team and lead that team to design the solution. Next, in all these roles, we have to sell. And the reason I asked what you were doing in insurance was as follows. If you're selling, $100 million insurance policies to the enterprise right now, you have those sales skills. If you're selling, a $500,000 life insurance policy, it's a different set of sales. I sell a $500,000 life insurance policy and I'm selling it to Alonzo. Alonzo, imagine the security you have that if something happens to you, your wife and children are taken care of. By comparison in business, now I'm selling a solution. Here, we're going to talk about this $100 million of technology. And here's the way that it's going to cut your costs in terms of employee costs by improving employee productivity, for example. Here's how it's going to assist you to sell. And here's our sales projections, which are much greater than the cost of the technology. So it's about building a business case. Now, and that's why I asked, what you actually did in insurance, because you may have these skills and you may not have these skills. So lots of sales skills. You're going to be giving presentations every day in any of these customer-facing roles, whether you're a sales rep or an architect, and to some degree, even a sales engineer. In fact, the last part of any cloud architect interview or a sales rep interview is a presentation itself. So you're going to be doing lots of presentations. Of course, executive writing is a really critical skill for any of these programs. You're going to need to have good, strong executive writing skills. Those are the skills. Now, we could easily train you in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. If you're not with us, maybe you have an MBA already. If not, you could get an MBA. And then make sure you get those design skills, because the difference between pre-sales and post-sales as a rule, the engineers are back, they're sitting behind a desk, they're working on the computer, they're super smart people. But people that are pre-sales, and architects are typically pre-sales, we're always selling. So it's a completely different set of skills. But I got to tell you, customer facing, very good choice.
Yeah, I like this question. And I hadn't seen a follow-up from Jalen in the chat box, but I'm glad that somebody from insurance asked a question, because that's a great example of, we often get asked about roles in cloud. So this is a similar situation, roles in insurance. I'm sure, Jalen, you know that there's countless different types of roles in insurance. You got the people that sell the insurance. You got the people that are going out and viewing damages, and what are those guys? The adjusters, is that what they are? I can't remember the exact titles. Right. And then you've got the people that are in the call centers. Then you got the actuaries that are out there figuring out the exact numbers to make everything work, and crunching all the numbers to make sure that they're charging the right amounts for the different types of coverages. And there's countless number of roles in insurance, just like there's countless number of roles in cloud. And so that's why we want to make sure we know two things. What is it that you're currently doing? So we can see how it compares to what you want to do. And so we got to figure out what you want to do is, because maybe you want to be a cloud engineer, maybe you want to be a cloud architect, maybe you want to be a sales engineer, which would be the customer facing version of that cloud engineer. Maybe you want to be a DevOps engineer, but you don't realize that that's not a customer facing role. I don't know. So that's why we asked those follow-up questions, because of that. So sorry, I did a 6-month stint in insurance, and I was like, yeah, that's not for me. That was a long time ago. Although I will say that the boss that I had in that he had the emotional intelligence when he hired me to tell me, if you realize that this isn't what you want to do, let me know, because insurance isn't for everybody, especially sales.
Very true.
All right. Next question from Antaeus. Is it a normal? Oh, okay. It got cut off. So let me go to the follow-up where it came all the way through. Is it a normal question for someone in an interview or from a recruiter to ask, how many years of verifiable cloud computing experience do you have? What exactly is meant as verifiable? And will a Go Cloud program assist me with verifiable cloud experience? Great question. And I got some thoughts on this one, but I'm going to let Mike start it off.
So, Antaeus, here's why variable people actually care for verifiable. About a year ago, there were a whole bunch of scary people out there on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram saying, here, if you don't have experience, make up an LLC or create an S corporation and give yourself a fake job. And they put down 10 years experience. I see it every day. People come to me and they're like, I look at the resume. They're an architect, designed and implemented. If they implemented, they're not an architect. They know it's a fake resume. Or improve business performance through this process. And it's an architecture process. It's not going to improve business performance at all. And we've been seeing so many fake resumes that are out there from the certified people that it is normal to say, how many years can we verify? Now, Antaeus, if you're with us and you're doing an internship with us and you're following the recommendations in our internship, it's verifiable. You are in an unpaid cloud architect role where you're actually designing solutions, you're presenting them to executives, you're doing everything that you do as an architect. It's verifiable. Now, Antaeus, if somebody takes my program and they put down on a job resume, and I saw it happen once, it broke my heart. They said they were with us for 12 years and a job title that we didn't have. And then the employer came and verified us. And I said, well, first, we weren't doing this in that time. And this person did this and it's not verifiable. I do background checks on people every single day of the week. People come to me and big employers come to me, whether it be AWS or Azure or Google or Cisco or IBM or Accenture or KPMG or Deloitte or Capgemini or any of the companies where our graduates work, and they come to us, did this person do it here? Yes, they did. So that's verifiable. And of course, if you're with us, it is verifiable. But yes, it is normal to ask questions. There's just too many fake people with fake jobs and fake resumes, and I see them every single day. And then there's the people out there saying, here, use ChatGPT to make a resume. And now ChatGPT makes a resume of all the skills the person doesn't have, and they come to us and we interview them, and they can't answer any single question because it's a fake resume. So no fake resumes, no fake lies, honor, integrity in everything we do. But yeah, it's normal. I would check. But even if we don't ask that question, it's obvious anyway. I can ask one person one or two questions, and the way they answer it tells me whether they're competent or not. And Antaeus, you can definitely get a job without any experience. Look, AWS has hired multiple people of ours without experience. Jordan Kitko, for example, Ivan Tamba, for example, had no experience whatsoever. Coyote had no experience whatsoever. So AWS hires a bunch of people. Microsoft hired Balwinder, who was a stay-at-home mom, as a cloud architect. We saw Al Legister get hired recently at Deloitte as a senior solutions architect. We've had Calian hired Jeffrey West, for example, with no experience, and he's not the only one. We've got NatWest that recently hired somebody. So we're getting people hired without experience. JP Morgan Chase hires people constantly. They hired Wallace Agana as an enterprise architect with no experience. I hired Jennifer Ema, where our only experience was with us. She was a mental health tech. I hired Daniel Bose. God, I love this kid. I almost wish he was on my own son. I think so highly of him. And he was 20 years old, didn't even graduate high school. So people want to know that you're competent. They don't care per se. But all your goal is to have something that's open, honest, and ethical. And you want the recruiter for one thing and one thing only: get you to the hiring manager. And that is it. And then it's done. That's their only part, is to sell you to the hiring manager to get you that interview, because you don't want to apply for the job. If you apply for the job without experience, you're going to get auto-rejected. If a recruiter sends you to the hiring manager says, I'm going to hire this person, and here's what I'm going to pay him in HR, send them to me.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit to that. So you've got, yes, people will ask that question, and it's usually because something has triggered them to ask that question.
That's what I was going to say.
And especially if they phrase it that specifically that way, something has triggered it. Maybe it's not your resume. Maybe it's the way that you're answering questions that show that you don't have the knowledge that comes with that verifiable experience. And so then something triggers in their brain. It's like, you know what? Maybe they actually haven't done this.
Yes.
Okay. So, Antaeus, how many years of verifiable experience do you have? That's what's going to come after that question is triggered. And this usually happens when people are interviewing or talking to recruiters when they don't have the capability to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons there's some questions in the chat box or comments in the chat box, and I'm very proud to see that I will bring up in a second that are directly related to this. But we do not want people going out there and interviewing or even communicating with recruiters if they're not ready to do the job. Now, communicating with recruiters if you're not ready to do the job is a different story. You can start laying the foundation with recruiters, but not telling them, but don't tell them that you're ready to work yet. Come up with a reason that says, I'm comfortable where I'm at, blah 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 blah. but that's normally what happens is you do something in your interview, in your screening phone call, and something that triggers that.
Absolutely.
Either that or it's a standard question of the 10 questions that the screener asks. Because we all know that the screener has a set of 10 questions and doesn't go off those set of 10 questions.
You got to be real, or you can end up in the cookie field, if you will, because if there's two things that happen, is that they've caught you in something that they don't like, and odds are that interview is over, and they're probably trying to give you one last shot to try to salvage this discussion. Or again, like Chris had talked about, it could be a part of the generic list of questions, but you have to be very careful because that is going to be a landmine of you to have to navigate and be able to talk and vet yourself through a series of experiences, skill sets, and competencies, and be able to command that conversation back into your court again. Otherwise, odds are that interview is not going to go any further than there.
All right. So it looks like we're going to be going out of order. So we're going to have fun today. LinkedIn user asks, hello, how can I determine if this specific role is a good fit for my personality type? I'm looking to pivot in the tech, but I'm just not sure what role is best for me.
Hi, LinkedIn user. And we picked this question out of order because it's a pretty important question. I don't think you should ever pick a career based upon your personality type. For example, we have doctors of all different personalities. We have lawyers of all different personalities. We have architects of all different personalities, and we have airplane pilots of all different personalities. Your personality type doesn't determine the career you do. Look, I'm a native introvert. If it's me, I like a nice quiet room. I like to hang out with my cat and my wife, and that's me. I'm an introvert. But, at work, I look like an extrovert because it's the skills that I learned from my job. So I think the bigger question is, what do you enjoy doing? That's really important. If you want to go out there and meet people and design a solution to help someone solve their challenges, you want to be an architect. Whether that be a cloud architect, a network architect, an enterprise architect, an AI architect, you want to be an architect. Now, if you want to sit behind a desk and code all day, you want to be some form of a software engineer, developer, or a DevOps engineer. If you want to do a combination of things where you're behind a desk and you're building stuff all day long, you're interested in engineering. You want to solve people's problems in real time, tech problems, you want to go into tech support. The question that I have for is, what do you like to do? Do you like to talk to people? Do you like to give presentations? Do you like to sell? Do you like to lead? What are your earnings goals too? Customer-facing roles, sales roles, architecture roles pay a lot more than engineering roles, but it's only good if it makes you happy. But if your goals are to move up into the organization, into more leadership roles, the more customer-facing roles get you more visibility, and they give you more of the skills that are necessary to lead. So the question I have for is, what makes you happy? What makes you tick? You can be anything. You want to be a cloud architect a year from now, I promise you, you can be hired working with a $200,000 job as a cloud architect with the right training like we give you, assuming you do the work, or you know, plus or minus a little bit. You want to be an engineer? Guess what? You can be an engineer a year from now too. You want to be an admin? You can probably do it 6 months from now, based off of the right effort. What is it you want to do? I used to practice internal medicine. That's true. One day I woke up and said, I want to do tech. I didn't think about my personality type. I said, I just want to do tech. And that's the key, is you can be anything you want to be. Anything. The only thing that stops you is you. You can literally conquer the world if you want to, within reason. You want to be a lawyer? Go be a lawyer. Want to be a physician? Go be a physician. Want to be a cloud architect? Go be it. But what do you want to do? It's not where you're at now. It's what you want to do that can help you achieve anything. So let me know what you find interesting, and I'll help you there.
Definitely. What's your passion? You know, I think anyone, regardless of if they're an introvert or an extrovert, when you find something that you really enjoy and you really like sharing that knowledge, how you got there, what kicks off, what's that wow factor for whatever subject matter that you're interested in, your voice will come through, your inner voice, and it will showcase with such passion and confidence that regardless of your stance on speaking to people, you're going to be the right person for the job. But as Mike talked about, first thing we need to figure out is, what is it that you like to do? What spurs you on to creating and conversing with such passion and fervor about subject matter? When you're able to do that, you're going to be ready to go and start on your path, no matter what it is.
All right. So Elvis asked, what is the difference between enterprise architect and cloud architect?
Well, there's a subtle differences between them. If we have a really good cloud architect, they're going to be doing a lot of enterprise architect work, because if they're not, they're just designing the cloud technology and they're not driving transformation. And what's the point of investing any technology if we don't drive transformation? So in enterprise architecture, we typically have architecture building blocks and solution building blocks. An architecture building block is everything, you know. It might be the virtual machines, the containers, the storage, etc. And that's an enterprise architecture term. And then we also build the solution building block, which might be, hey, instead of the virtual machine, swap it out for an AWS EC2 instance. Instead of the virtual hard drive, swap it out for block storage. Instead of a container, instead of well, actually, we're going to be using the same containers and container orchestration, but kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But really, that's the key. So the enterprise architect focuses on the entire enterprise, meaning what's the vision for the organization? How does the business work? What are all the business processes? Any enterprise architect must do this. What's the business look like now? How does it operate now? How do we want it to operate in the future? What's the gap between them? Now, next, a good enterprise architect is going to look at the data environment. What's the data now? How does the organization use data? How does it drive value out of the data? And they got to go to the future. How do we want to use data in the future? Perform a gap analysis and get there. And then the enterprise architect is going to look at the technology environment. And this means all the technology. whether it be data center technology, cloud technology, security technology, AI technology, all of it, video tech, all of it. They're going to look at how the technology works now and how the technology works in the future, and they're going to give a gap analysis. And then the enterprise architect is going to say future vision state, back into the tech, this, and everything. And then they're going to say, hey, cloud architect, here you go. And then the cloud architect is going to say, well, we got to have somebody implement this. No architects touch the technology, but we need the people that can actually get there. So what does that mean? So we've got to build the plan. Okay, to build this thing, I need 10 DevOps engineers, 3 security engineers, 10 cloud engineers, 1 or 2 cloud admins, 2 big data people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then as the enterprise architect, I got to work with the people that are going to govern the thing, and then work with the people that are going to do change management. Now, Elvis, there are cloud architects, and if they're doing this, they are not good for their customers. They're techies, and techies aren't driving transformation. Now, they may be the best techies, but they're not driving any transformation. And why would a company invest? Some cloud architects or solution architects are just going to say, tell me your cloud needs, and I'm going to design them. But if they do that, here's what happens. They design a technology solution, and that's it. And what if I told you, Elvis, between 50 and 90% of all architectures fail, meaning they don't do what they were supposed to do? That's what happens when somebody only looks at the technology without starting at the business. So the reality is a cloud architect and an enterprise architect, if they're doing the right thing, are all starting at the executives. They're all finding the enterprise vision. They're all learning the business, and pretty much they're doing the same thing. But a cloud architect is more specified to just the cloud and the stuff on the cloud. And the enterprise architecture is looking on and off of the cloud. Now, the best cloud architects are going to be looking at the private clouds and public clouds too. So there's a subtle difference between them. But Elvis, what we're seeing is, as organizations find technology to be more and more valuable to running their business, and technology goes from being just a competitive advantage to not being able to survive without it. And as we get new technologies, new AI and new cloud stuff and new networking things and new Internet of Things things, now these architectures are getting so big that the architects are going from more techie to the more businessy anyway, and everybody's sort of migrating towards that enterprise architect world, even if we don't talk about it, at least the good architects. So really great question.
All right. Telvon says, I have a friend who wants to become a network engineer. What would you suggest for them to do?
Call the Cisco Networking Academy and register for training. The Cisco Networking Academy has wonderful training to become a network engineer. And I highly recommend them. I've taken some training through them. If somebody goes through the Cisco Networking Academy, not a silly boot camp, but a Cisco Networking Academy, and does a CCNA and a CCNP there, and is through Cisco, they'll actually learn networking along the way. If they just go and do some expensive boot camp that's going to be out there, and look, the Cisco Networking Academy is going to cost 10 grand at least to become a network engineer. But if they go out there and they get one of these networking boot camps that's taught by somebody that's never been in networking before, in the end, they're going to spend a lot of money, and they're going to need to be retrained by the Cisco Networking Academy anyway. I've taught lots of network engineers in the past. I love it. It is a fantastic job, and that's what I would do. I would go straight to Cisco.
All right. Okay. Darnell's got a question. Would it be frowned upon if I had to give a presentation from a wheelchair?
Absolutely not.
Nope.
Absolutely not. The fact that you can give a presentation while you're sitting in a wheelchair, the world would say, look at this guy. Look at their strength, speed, and power. They won't quit for anything, and I give them bonus points. Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you have to do something different, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's inadequate. I'd rather choose someone who may have to do things differently in that scenario, but is competent, than someone who's able to do 6,000 squats with strong legs and they can't do the job. So it's not about that perception. And although there are some scenarios where that needs to be squashed, Darnell, understand that it's your competency that's going to win the day, to be able to communicate these immense set of skills, the immense set of value offerings, a lot of strong return on investment for an organization to have you on their team and for them to realize your value. Those are your proverbial legs that they're going to be looking at, or the right organizations who are seeking to have you on their team.
Yeah, it all boils down to the same things that we tell everyone else: presence and communication. And you can have you can excel in both of those in a wheelchair or not in a wheelchair.
Yep.
So you have to polish those regardless.
Yep.
Here we go. Victor says, recently I've been getting a lot of emails for cloud solution architect job interview, but have not been responding to them because from watching you, I know I'm not ready yet. Based on your recommendation, what will be the absolute response to this recruiters? And lastly, I have no experience and never work in tech.
Well,
First
Victor,
of all, I want to commend you for not trying to do something that you're not capable of doing yet. That if you attempted to do interviews for jobs that you know you're not ready for, you're going to set yourself up for failure, and you're going to be just like the overwhelming majority of people out there that can't get a job. Because that's when people say that they can't get hired in cloud architecture roles or even cloud engineer roles or most tech jobs, it's because they're trying to apply for jobs that they can't do.
Right.
So, first of all, I wanted to commend that. But Mike, you want me to put up the first part again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready for me to go to the second part.
You go. Second part. Okay, Victor. So a couple things. One, the fact that you're getting interviews for a solution architect job, that's great. Don't not respond to the emails. First and foremost, never not respond to somebody's message. Responsive means responsible. And the second you don't respond to people, they write you off and never talk to you again. That refers to phone calls, emails, text messages. So I want you to respond to them. Victor, I want you to tell them that you're not looking to move a change right now, but you'd like to keep their information and maybe check in with them every 6 months or so and build a relationship, because you'll have an army of people that want to get you a job, and they're going to get paid for it. So first, do that. Secondly, don't go on an interview until you're there. Now, a few things. If they're reaching out to you and you've never worked in tech, it's because they're willing to send you on an interview anyway. But, there's no such thing as no experience. And here's what I mean by that. I used to practice internal medicine, Victor, and you know what I did when I practiced internal medicine? Somebody came in the office and they had a problem. It's called the chief complaint, my throat hurts. And what did I do? I asked them some questions. Hey, what makes your throat better? What makes that worse, for example? I made a diagnosis, and then I came up with a plan. Here, amoxicillin 500 milligrams 5 times, or 500 milligrams QID, or 4 times a day. Saltwater gargles, come back and see me in 2 weeks if it's not better. And I probably cultured it too, to make sure I cover the right bacteria. Now, what do I do as an architect? I go to a client and they say, Mike, our systems are bogged down. They keep going down. I have a security problem. I have an availability problem. I say, okay, that's the same thing. Doctor's got a problem. Architect deals with the problem. Now, what did the doctor do next? They asked some questions. What did the architect do? Okay, tell me about your business. Tell me about your technology. What's working? What's not working? Same thing. Next, doctor made a diagnosis. Architect makes a diagnosis. Doctor makes a plan called the prescription. Architect makes a plan called an architecture. Same job. What does a lawyer do, Victor? Hi, I got a speeding ticket. Well, tell me about what you were doing. Did you get in along with a police officer along the way? Yes, I was very polite. I accepted the ticket. I said, thank you, I'll drive safely. Good. Now hand me the ticket. Let me check the calibration of the police car. Hoof, pay an extra fine and you have no points on your license. It's the same thing. They have a problem. They ask some questions. They evaluate the evidence. They make a treatment plan. So Victor, the first part of this is showing people what did you do in your past life, how you actually have experience. For architects, I've been solving people's problems for X, Y, Z number of years. What we do as architects, we solve other people's problems. Now, talk about the similarities and then talk about the differences. Boom, you're there. But, if you're one of our students, you got a job as part of the Go Cloud Careers internship and you do have experience. If you're not, that's where it looks pretty hard. It's one of the reasons every student in Go Cloud Careers has an internship so they can say they have experience. But even still, Victor, people will hire you with no experience. It doesn't matter. Noah Parker was a social worker and got an architect job. Pierre Desault over there in Canada was working on Sailbox and got hired. Raymond recently was a student of ours and he was selling perfume, but he got his first architect job. I mean, it just doesn't matter. It happens to us every day where somebody gets someone hired. But you have to have the right skills. And nobody cares really how much experience you have, for real. Nobody cares whether you're certified. Nobody cares what your degrees are, and they care, can you do the job and can they work with you? In fact, there was a director of sales engineers. She was a friend of mine, and I asked every manager, executive, CIO, CTO, thousands of people over the years, what do you hire? And she said, Mike, give me somebody that can do the job, and in 1,000 interviews, I can't find one. So give me somebody that can do the job, and Mike, I gotta want to work with them. I don't want a cranky person. I don't want a mean person. I don't want a person who can't talk. I don't want an antisocial person. I don't want somebody that can't remember to shower. And I'm like, really? That's it? And this is what somebody said to me 25 years ago. And I remember hearing it, but it's true. It's that hard to find somebody. So just be good at your job and nobody's going to care about the rest of it. I can give you example, Vector. And if you want a list, I'll have fun until Chris will buzz me that I've mentioned too many names of people that got hired with no experience as cloud architects. I showed them the experience that I had that was like the architect experience.
Sorry, looking for the next question. Oh, I got to sneeze. Somebody read this.
All right. From how can someone remove the engineer brand of being socially inept and lacking in business acumen?
So, here's something interesting. People always want to tell people, I have this. You show them. So, instead of going in a ripped up t-shirt, show up to work in a suit. Instead of communicating in short terms, communicate effectively. Go take some training in executive presence and go talk like you've got executive presence. Demonstrate your leadership skills in everything you do. Talk about things in common things that are going on in macroeconomics. What's going on in the financial environments right now? What are the impact of XYZ thing going on right now? There's a lot of market risk out there. And how would you describe that market risk? And how would you explain it to people? What new technologies are out there that it can improve the business performance? How will they improve the business performance? What problems will they solve? Show people you have it. If you have it, they're going to see it. Clearly. Now, I can remember I did work in a tech job as an engineer many, many years ago, and I wanted to move up into a much better role. And I was told we don't allow engineers to do this. So I bought a bunch of Armani suits, showed up for work in Armani suits, and pretended not to know the technology. And I got myself transferred into an architecture job. But, I pretended to know it from an architectural level and not an engineering level. So they still knew I knew it and knew it well. They just knew I didn't know how to build it. And there's a big difference there. But I did those kind of things and, it worked for me. But the reality is I do it every day for people. Prove it to people. Show me. You show me. I'm not going to be there. So I can tell someone who's a techie and I can tell someone who's an executive in 3 seconds. I have to talk to them. In some cases, I can even look at them. You can see people that are trying to pretend they know how to train a solution architect and they don't, and they're like in a t-shirt. No architect goes to work in a t-shirt. They talk like an engineer and the world knows they're not an architect. They couldn't get hired as an architect if they wanted to. And then you got other people that can show up, they look the part, walk the part, talk the part, show the part, and they prove that they're there. Taylor Swift goes on stage in a concert. She proves that she's Taylor Swift every single day. She could have someone that looks and walks, talks like her, identical, like a twin who's not Taylor Swift. She gets up on stage and within a second, they're like, where's Taylor? I know this because my wife likes to watch Taylor Swift. Personally, I just like reggae, but that's here and there.
All right. We're moving on from Taylor Swift.
Could be worse. I actually went to a Katy Perry concert too. And
I was about to ask, we're switching to Katy Perry at this point.
Well, my wife may be good at Taylor Swift. She may be able to carry Katy Perry. And if I say I enjoyed the Katy Perry concert, Alonzo will probably think crazy of me, and so will you. So I won't admit to liking it, but I did.
Hey, happy wife, happy life. What can I say?
All right.
Go where my wife calls me.
Oh. Follow up. How can someone become the head of a department or director? Job specs always mandate a certain number of years of experience. Ooh, yeah. Let's talk about
actually,
that.
that's not true at all. I know directors with 1 year of experience. How good of a leader are you? I know chief
it is true. The job descriptions do say that.
Yeah, well, I don't worry about job descriptions.
But I'm saying that.
Here's the thing. How do you become the head of a department? You get really good leadership skills. You get really good executive presence skills. You get really good emotional intelligence skills. You get really good sales skills. You develop really good business acumen skills. I know chief technology officers that haven't spent a minute working in technology before they were chief technology officers. Guess what? They were some of the best I've ever seen because they had great leadership skills and weren't bogged down with technology and got great people. I also know great technology officers that had CTOs that had chief technologists that had a big technology background. There is no rules. None. I was a principal architect in less than 2 years. Now, the job description said 15 years experience. Who cares? My first job was a senior network engineer. I only had it for 6 months because I moved into a lead architect role right before that wanted 15 years experience. Now, I had lots of years taking care of sick people in the hospital, but I had no experience. But nobody cares because I was great at it. People care how great you are once you get that first job. It's how great you are. So prove to them that you're great, you'll get any job you want. I had this manager, Joe, at Riverstone, and it was really this interesting thing. I joined in a very high level in the company, and I was there for about a week and a half, and the company announced a 30% layoff. So I went from this consulting systems engineer who was an engineer to the sales engineers and the solutions architects to consult to them, to all of a sudden being a regular sales engineer for a day. And I was supposed to go to New York City and meet a sales rep and do basic sales engineer stuff. And on my way to New York City, they said, Mike, any chance you can just jump on an airplane and go to London instead of going to the New York office? And I said, fine. I went to London. I bought clothes while I was there. They're like, Mike, can you go to Dubai? Sure, I'll go to Dubai. I talked about some IP multicast. Mike, can you stop at Panama on your way home? Sure. Mike, can you go to Australia? Sure. By the time I got home 3 weeks later, I had already moved up into a different role. And I remember when my manager said, Mike, I'm going to give you this basic sales engineer role so I don't have to lay you off. It also came with a raise. Go figure. And I said, but Joe, I worked my way to get here and you're bringing me here. And he says, Mike, the cream always rises to the top. He says, take this junior level job and I bet you're out of this inside of 3 months. 3 months later, I was a principal architect. But the point being is the cream rises to the top. If you do your work better than the rest, have more effort, get along better with others, bring out the best in others, lead people, communicate well, the world will take you up. So develop those skills, you'll get there.
All right. So earlier from LinkedIn user, this is the follow-up. Thank you for this response. I think I asked the question incorrectly, but you broke it down in the most helpful way. I like teaching and solving problems. I also need to use my creative abilities in any role. Repetitiveness is probably what that's. Without creativity is not for me. I'm looking for a non-customer facing role where I can work behind the scenes. Based off of your comment, DevOps may be a good place to start researching.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to teach and solve problems, you're not going to be in DevOps. If you want to teach, you're going to be customer facing. If you want to be in DevOps, basically you're going to be automating and pretty much doing the same thing day in and day out. Automating a software release, automating a Kubernetes thing. So you actually have two different goals. You want to be in a place where you can be teaching and being creative, which is generally on the architecture side. And then you're also saying you don't want to be customer facing. So I think I think we've got to get a little more clear, because generally the places where you're going to be teaching and solving problems are customer facing. And the places where, and the things where you're not going to be repetitive are going to be customer facing. And here's why. Business X needs problems Y, needs this solution. Business Y needs a different one. Business Z or Z needs a different one. Business Alpha needs a different one. Business Bravo needs a different one. Business Charlie needs a different one. So on the pre-sale side, on the architecture side, it's different every day. If you work on the engineering side, it's like DevOps, it's almost going to be the same thing every day. So I'd further try to do it down. Are you looking for creativity and variedness and flexibility? That's going to take you customer facing. If you want to be in tech and you're going to be behind the scenes, and that's fine to be behind the scenes, it's going to be very similar every day. And you're going to be more analytical than creative as a general rule. So both are good, but I think I would further think about that because you mentioned teaching. So the teaching is usually customer facing. The creative is usually customer facing. Repetitiveness without creativity is customer facing. Repetitiveness without creativity is not customer facing. So kind of hope I can help you there. Maybe come back and ask the question a different way. I really want to help you.
All right. Hi guys, with solid healthcare background, now focusing on cloud technology. I hold a Solution Architect Associate and a Security Certificate. I've completed many projects on AWS. However, my application and LinkedIn profile isn't getting much attention. So what do you suggest?
Bear with me a second. Well, what job is he interested in?
Yeah, that's going to be the good question. So, Elias, if you could let us know what goal, what career you desire, that could truly help us with answering this question.
Absolutely. But a couple things. When I see projects on somebody's LinkedIn profile, I usually turn away. And here's the reason why. I want someone that knows how to do the job, not showing me they did an intro level thing. I'm typically looking for someone, the brand, that can write some content that can show me some thought leadership that shows me they know something, not that they can click a few buttons. Now, if you were with a company that had a place and you did it under an internship with them, that would look good. If you just put projects on there, I'm a hiring manager, I'm looking and seeing why is there projects on there. So if you give me the information what you want, I can tell you in the context of how to frame it. I do want to help you, Elias, but without knowing which job you want. Because projects for an architect are designing architectures. Projects for an engineer are configuring things. So, and then I'll tell you how to get there. But just having a certified solution architect professional and a security certificate is not enough for anything. But if we know what you want, we can tell you the exact skills that you need. You can get them and you'll get anything that you want, Elias. And I just want you to have a really good successful. So show me that. So you did an internship. Okay.
So that's still not telling us, Elias, what role do you want? Do you want to be an architect? Do you want to be an engineer? I see your LinkedIn profile says that you're an engineer. So are you wanting to be an engineer? Do you want to be an architect? Do you want to work in DevOps? Like, you need to know the role that you're desiring, the role that you're applying for, the role that you're responding to recruiters for.
Okay, and I'm actually looking right now at your LinkedIn profile.
Right, I was too, and so I had some thoughts there, but it all comes back to what's the role that we're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah. So let us know the role that you're looking for, and we'll give you some good.
Yeah, we'll give you some things that I need you to know.
Architect.
You want to be an
Boom.
architect. Okay.
Blow up your LinkedIn profile.
Okay. So, Elias, couple of things. One is your LinkedIn profile is showing me that you want to be a cloud admin, not an architect. A cloud architect has business skills. A cloud architect has leadership skills. A cloud architect has sales skills, executive presence. A cloud architect does not use or orchestrate anything. A cloud architect does not deploy anything. A cloud architect wouldn't do anything on just AWS anyway. 98% of architectures are all multi-cloud. So I need to know your business skills. And maybe you designed a multi-cloud architecture for a bank that provided 99.999% availability. That's an architect thing. Maybe you designed a new cloud architecture that increased revenue by 3% because it improved a new sales process. Maybe our cloud architecture actually did something to reduce the number of staff. For example, you could have implemented some AI, some generative AI in your cloud architecture that could have reduced the number of software engineers by 40%, while simultaneously increasing software development speed or velocity by 11%. There's something quantifiable there. So Elias, first I want you to download what you have. What it looks like is you did one of these boot camps where they basically taught you a little AWS and a little DevOps and had nothing to do with architecture. So please download this. Now with a healthcare background, and I love a health background, you could obviously design healthcare architectures. Of course, I don't know what you said. You said medical technologist, which is a different kind of healthcare background, more in the lab, but we'll work with that because it still shows some clinical acumen. So what presentations have you done? Have you done presentations, for example, about serology since you had medical technology? Have you done presentations on new processes, for example, to do a certain type of test? That would be there. Have you presented technology to a large group of people? Have you sold something? What have you sold? What kind of presentations have you done? What kind of leadership have you done? So, Elias, where is your executive presence and how have you demonstrated it? So first, download the free guide. Secondly, please come to the free webinar on Thursday. As it stands tomorrow, David Lithicum and I are going to have a nice multi-cloud discussion from an architecture perspective. I'd advise you to come. I think it'll be good for you. But I have a solid healthcare background. I used to practice internal medicine. So the key is we need to see what your design abilities are. What are your sales abilities? What are your presentations? So first, we need to fix all that. Secondly, you need to learn the network, data center, and the cloud, meaning I don't want to see any branded anything, meaning I don't talk about an EC2 instance, and I'll never talk about an EC2 instance, and here's the reason why. My customers don't know what it means. They can't hire me as an architect if I'm babbling about that. Now, if I talk about migration of 1,500 virtual machines to AWS and Azure, now they get it. If I talk about migrating 5 petabytes of data to Azure, great. If I talk about designing a data lake that's inclusive of Apache pulling of mapping and reducing information from Apache Cassandra, mapping and reducing information from the Oracle database, and mapping and reducing information from a Postgres warehouse to pop it in object storage, and then creating a data catalog, and then creating a data lake, and then adding some machine learning and doing that to improve an organization's business performance through better predictions. Now we're talking about architecture. See, that's the architect stuff. It's the design and what is the impact of the business. Your LinkedIn profile is basically cloud administration. I've done this thing, I've done this thing, I've done this thing. So you're basically, let's say you were trying to fish and you wanted to catch a shark, you wouldn't put a worm on the hook. You'd use a worm for a small freshwater fish. For a shark, you need a big fish and you need chum. So your bait's wrong. So download the free guide, come to the free webinar on Thursday, and I'll tell you everything that you need to learn in this guide. We'll even talk, you can even come off mute, ask us questions. I'm curious what you've done in this clinical laboratory. I can interview you a little bit. I know a lot about laboratory systems, and then we'll get you there. So download the free guide. My link, my team will pop it right now. Come to the webinar on Thursday, but realize what you trained for was a different job. And the architect is the designer, the planner, the executive. We do no DevOps, we do no coding, we do no configuration, we do none of that. You can't design a solution and focus on the business and focus on the sales and focus on the executives and focus on the stakeholders and build a team of people to design it and then be the person behind the scenes, because you can't fly an airplane and keep the passengers in their seats at the same time. We'll get you covered. Elias, I can help you. And as a medical professional, I want to really doubly want to help you because I'm a medical professional too.
All right. Sarah asks, can you freelance in the cloud industry?
Well, you could. The question is, why would you? So, I mean, here's what I mean. Here's what most freelancers do. They put themselves up on Upwork or something like that. What's the other one where everybody goes? Well, let's just use Upwork. You go on Upwork, you bill yourself out for $200. Now, you go work as an cloud architect somewhere and you get paid $150 to $200 an hour after a couple of years of experience every hour of the day. And then you get 4 to 6 weeks paid vacation. And then you get all your insurances covered, and you might be getting $50,000 to $100,000 in stock grants every time you do something good. Why would you want to freelance? Yeah, Fiverr was the other people I was thinking about. Now, there are lower level jobs where you can do things. And what I mean by lower level is you can freelance as a software engineer. Look, I love software engineers. It's not lower in terms of the hierarchy, but it's much lower in terms of pay, because it's hands-on behind the scenes versus customer-facing tied to revenue. You could do that, but any of the bigger roles, you're not going to freelance. So I don't know why you'd want to. So is there something reason that you want to freelance? If there is, let me know and I can help you the roles that you could do. But as a rule, you don't want to freelance in this. Here's the people that would go freelance. Back in 1999, or 2000, when I became a Cisco certified internet expert, a CCI with a full-time job was a $170,000 a year position. But at freelance, we could earn $150 an hour, and then we could get 60 hours a week. So I knew a whole lot of CCIs earning $300,000 to $500,000 a year freelancing in 1999 and 2000. But that's because in those days, they didn't have these good architecture positions, and the only way you could get good money was to be a freelancer and work 60 hours a week and get paid. But now we've got really good jobs. I mean, there's jobs as cloud architects that pay more than $500,000 a year, like this Google principal architect job, and I was a principal architect in 2 years. Average pay is $508, but the range is $394 to $677. I mean, basic job as a senior director, no big deal to get into, $399 at IBM. I mean, senior director at Palo Alto, you're dealing with an average of $540. Principal architect at Microsoft, you're dealing with about $380 on average. Senior director at Cisco, you're dealing with $527 on average. And with the right business acumen, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, and knowledge, you can get any of these jobs. So why would you get a freelance job that's going to pay you a third of this and not have any of the benefits? Now, if there's a reason you want to do that, tell me, because maybe I'm happy to help you, but as a rule, it doesn't make sense. Because I can't give my big, really critical things to a freelancer. My super important stuff goes to my full-timers that I know that are going to be there.
Yeah, they want people who are vested in the company, who believe in the products, the services, the environment, the culture. And if you don't have that and see that, they're not. Why will we go to you when you have no interest in the company outside of financial gain versus people who really want to be here?
All right. Next question from Nathaniel Sosa. I know I need the AWS Solution Architect Professional and CCNA. Would the TOGAF Architect cert be value added?
Well, Nathaniel, I'm not convinced you need any certification. I've gotten plenty of people hired with 0 certifications. Now, if I was going to do a certification, I would do the AWS Certified Solution Architect. I would not do the CCNA. I would do the CCNP. Remember, I say I don't do associate certifications. I do professional certifications, and the TOGAF would be a huge value add. Here's the reason I don't like associate certifications. And here's the way an employer would look at one. An associate certification is almost ready to do the job. The professionalist certification might be ready to do the job, and the expert certification like the CCIS can probably do the job. So where people damage their careers, they get a bunch of associate certification. It's like almost ready, almost ready, almost ready, almost ready. Still not ready for anything, so I typically don't do that. So I would say the CCNP and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, yes. You could do the Certified Solution Architect Professional and the TOGAF, that would also be fine. You only need 2 certifications, but make sure they're both professional and no associates.
All right. Hello, Mike. I'm a cloud solution architect now. And what will be my next career path? What is next for solution architect and enterprise architect in general?
Well, if you're assuming you're working as an actual cloud solution architect, not an engineer with an architect title, and that means you're designing, presenting, and selling. If that's the case, and you're dealing with stakeholder negotiation, vendor negotiation, and you're dealing with sales and building business cases, etc., you can move into a principal architect role. These pay between $400,000 and $700,000 as a rule. You can move into a chief technology role. You can move into a director of architecture. You can move into these director of engineering roles. You can move into a chief information officer. You can move into an enterprise architect. You can do any of them. Any of them. And they're all good. And I see it all the time. I went from principal architect to enterprise architect, and then really what I did was actual consulting, more management consulting, but I still kept the architect title that I was a business architect. And any of those things are good, but you can also get a chief architect role. And then there's some architects that I know that go straight into sales because they love being in sales. And then they get big commissions if they're really, really great at it too. So everybody, it depends on what you want to do. But I would say if you're already in the architect world, move into the principal architect role, move into the enterprise architect role, move into the chief technology officer role, move into the CIO role, move into these director of architecture practices. Those kind of places are fantastic. That's what I did.
As an architect, is it worth pretending not to know the technology and instead act like you're strictly a business professional?
If I had an architect that pretended not to know the technology, I'd fire them on the spot because they're not an architect. Now, if they were really good at sales, I would reach out to my friends in the sales team and say, can I hire you? Would you be interested in a good sales rep? But I can't have an architect that doesn't understand the technology because you can't design something if you don't know it. That's not an architect. An architect is a hybrid. I know how to design the stuff. And I know what business problems it could solve. And it's one thing for being an engineer saying, I don't know how to build the stuff. I know how it works, which I did to get out of engineering. And it's another thing to say I'm an architect, but I don't know how to design your anything. That's the big difference. So when I was an engineer and I said, I don't know how to build this, let me go find somebody. And I got treated and I focused on the business and the leadership. I was still leading the engineers. And I still described the solution and sold the solution and presented the solution. I just said I didn't know how to do it. There's a big difference between doing and designing. I position myself as the architect, the business executive, the tech lead, not I don't know anything. I position that I don't know how to build. Guess what? I still don't know how to build. Never written a line of code in my life. Why? I've been an architect for over 25 years. We don't code. Don't do DevOps either. Why? Because I'm an architect. Don't do troubleshooting either. Why? I'm an architect. Don't do maintenance either. SysOps. Why? I'm an architect. But you ask me how to design a solution with 10,000 routers, I know how to design it. I know how to design the routing, the addressing, and everything. You need me to design a system with 15,000 virtual machines, I know how to design it. I just don't know how to deploy them. There's a big difference. So don't do that.
All right. Let's see. Oh, this is a good question. What would the three of you say is a good trait in a tech recruiter? Listening to you.
Yes. Being responsive.
And listening to what you actually say.
Yeah.
And actually even asking you what you want and what you can do and not telling you what they have.
That's some of it. So here's a good recruiter. A good recruiter is first someone that can ask you the right questions to truly identify who you are. A good recruiter has deep relationships with the chief information officer and the hiring manager and even the CEO of every company that they place employees with. Of course, they're VPs of HR too. A good recruiter has extremely good sales skills. So they can say, Alonzo, I want you to meet with Silence Poet. Silence Poet's a very strong architect. They've got very good sales skills, deep network understanding, deep data center, and cloud knowledge. They have knowledge in this, and this. They've worked for these people. I really think it's worth your time talking to them to pre-sell you. A good recruiter will practice interview you. And they'll practice interviewing you in the context of not only interview skills, they'll practice interviewing you in terms of likes and dislikes of the hiring manager. A good recruiter will tell you what the hiring manager likes and cares about and what he or she doesn't care about. And a good recruiter is going to talk to you on the phone because they know that's the only way they can get any information from you and see how you present yourself. Anybody that says, I just want to see your resume is worthless. Why? As a recruiter, they could pay basically 20% of your yearly salary to find you a job, which could be $100,000 for a good architect. Now, a good recruiter is not going to send me 5 bad candidates that I can't hire. They're going to have to send me somebody good enough. And the whole reason I hire the recruiter and we're willing to pay the recruiter is not to have to go interview a million people that HR sent us that all have 1 million years experience and 50 different skills and know nothing, because HR can't vet them. We're looking for a specific expert that can find them to us. And if Alonzo's my recruiter and Alonzo sends me 5 people that I can't hire, Alonzo's not sending me a 6th one. I'm done. I wasted enough of my time with Alonzo. I'm going to go to my next recruiter, Chris. So the recruiter has to know you well enough, know the hiring manager well, to send you the right people. And if they don't talk to you on the phone, they're not going to know if you can do the job. And the reality is, you can be the best technology professional in the world for half of these jobs. And if the hiring manager can't interview you and think they know it by what you told them, they can't hire you anyway, because they can't guess and interpret and imagine what's in your head. And that's why a good recruiter will always speak to you. Always. So, excellent question there, Silence Poet. By the way, if others have questions, I've got a little bit of time left. Please ask them now so I can assist you, or my team can.
From ETH, hello guys, hope you're doing well. I wanted to know, how does a beginner or a newbie go about becoming a cloud engineer?
Well, ETH, the first thing that you need to realize is what a cloud engineer does. The cloud engineer builds the stuff that we cloud architects design. So this is a builder position. So what are the skills that you need to build? Well, first, you need to understand the cloud provider you're working with. Not just what they teach in a certification, which is how to configure stuff. You really should know how it works. Because if you don't know how anything works, how do you performance tune anything? And the answer is you don't. So first you need to know how it works. Now, as an engineer, it's all about being able to build. So a good cloud engineer has lots of experience hands-on. They're learning a lot. The command line, the management console, and infrastructure as code. Now, when I say infrastructure as code, I'm not saying waste your time with AWS CloudFormation or Azure Bicep. I'm talking Terraform. So you should have good, strong knowledge of Terraform and deploying things with infrastructure as code. Good, strong knowledge on that command line and know how to build pretty much everything in the cloud provider that you could. Now, next, a cloud engineer is basically today's new world of this, what they call it, a systems administrator. So what are we talking about? This means you need to have good Linux skills. How do you patch a Linux system? How would you update a kernel? How would you add a user? How would you write a bash script? How would you install software? How would you resize or add new volumes to the drive? Those kinds of things. You need to have good Microsoft systems administration skills too, including Windows PowerShell scripts. And then as a cloud engineer, you're going to have to automate, so you should have good knowledge of Python. You develop these skills, you're going to be a very strong cloud engineer, and you're not going to have a hard time being hired. Those are the skills. So don't go crazy with certifications, because you're not going to learn these skills. Get one single professional cloud certification. All the cloud architect certifications have nothing to do with architecture. They have everything to do with cloud engineering. So the intro-level certification is the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert. That's the intro-level cloud cert that we're going to talk about. But those Linux skills, those Terraform skills, those Python skills, those Bash shell scripting, those Windows scripting, that's the stuff that you need to be really proficient at as a cloud engineer. Wouldn't hurt if you knew some SQL and some database administration as well. Light work there. But that'll get you, and it'll get you to your goals.
All right, and Tejas has asked a question.
Mike, how do you handle a situation where the client or business requests you do something that is moral or for the good of the business in their eyes? However, if accomplished, will compromise your health or moral beliefs? Have you ever encountered this? And if so, What is your recommendation on how to handle this as an enterprise architect in an enterprise architect position?
Well, I can't think of doing anything that would compromise my health. I'm designing a cloud solution, a business solution. How does that compromise my health? It doesn't. Now, what do you mean compromise my morals? I don't know what that means. And here's what I mean. Today, there's a whole lot of people that can't use electric today, wear leather shoes, or use any machinery or work by the religion. And the morals for the wonderful people of this religion, today is a day of repentance. They can't work today. So they don't. They have somebody else do the job. If you're a conservative and your client's a liberal and they say do liberal stuff for us, they're your client. You have to do right by them for their business. The same way a lawyer has to defend an innocent client, whether they're innocent or not, it's their job to defend them. And it's the same way if you're a doctor, you have to take care of people that don't necessarily want the same things that you want. What does a doctor do when the patient says, I want birth control, and they're a Catholic and they don't believe in it? They either refer to another doctor or they prescribe it. So the key is you're saying moral. Now, there's a difference between ethical and unethical. We don't do wrong things or illegal things as cloud architects. And we don't assist our clients to break the law either. But your version of morals and somebody else's versions of morals are two very different things. And it's not appropriate for us to put our beliefs in front of somebody else's business needs or requirements because we don't know. Some parts of the world, someone commits a crime and an arm gets chopped off, like if they steal. That's totally appropriate in that culture. It's totally not appropriate in our culture, in America. But it doesn't mean Americans can go to another part of the world and tell people how they need to live their life. That's not appropriate or fair either. So I'm not exactly sure I understand your question. I will tell you, you should never break the law. You should never violate any professional ethics. But, other people may want things that are different than us, and we have to support their needs as professionals in life. Either of you want to add to that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There is no room for interpretation. You definitely have to subscribe to the ethic, law, overall restraints that are you got to think about. Obviously, there's no way that you could do any of this without adhering to some form of compliance, NIST, PCI, DSS, HIPAA related stuff. These are just the fundamentals of how people need to operate within the industry, let alone all the AI compliancy and rules that they have enacted over the last 2 to 3 years. So there's no room for interpreting how you can navigate, negotiate, gold plate, or anything else for the benefit of the client or for the organization, because litigation will ensue. And just the tip of the iceberg, you're getting fired, period. You're not going to be able to work in any other position as a cloud architect within the industry, because although it's a big industry, it's a small community. So your name will be out there. You will be persona non grata. You will be the scarlet letter of the industry. They're not going to want to touch you or work with you, because whatever you did for that organization, it will reach the news. Your name will probably be associated with it, or if not, the damage and brand damage associated with those actions will trickle down into who was responsible and so forth. So you can see how these type of things, going down the path of the 80-20, 20% of these things that you have done that have been outside the scope and ethics are going to result in 80% of the problem. So to your point, Antaeus, make sure that whatever you do is ethically sound. If there's someone that is doing something or in leadership that's asking you to do something questionable, these are some of the things that needs to, you need some reconsideration on, because you should never have to be compromised to be, outside of who you are for the sake of a dollar or the sake of extra business. What about you, Chris?
Right. Let's go to the next question. Is it advisable to get certified and get hired as a solution architect without an associate certificate?
Well, here's my perspective. The average cloud architect earns now almost $840 per day, which means every day you're not working is costing you $840 a day, and every month you're not working is costing you more than $16,000 a month. So what it means is the first thing I would do is get the skills to get hired. Because we've had people like Delray Bad who we've trained that used our brand and had everything that got hired with 0 certifications. So the first thing I would do would get the job skills. But personally, I would get the job skills. And once I had the job skills, it would be pretty easy to get a certification. One of my students, Richard, he decided he wanted to be a cloud security architect, and I advised him that the CISSP would go perfectly with an AWS Solutions Architect Professional. Now, most people will tell you compare an AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional with CISSP, and the CISSP is at least 10 times more comprehensive than the Certified Solution Architect Professional, to put it into context. It's also a $1,200 exam. So we're talking about an exam like this versus the AWS one is down here in terms of challenges and effectiveness. He did it in 3 weeks. Now, why was Richard able to pass the CISSP in 3 weeks? Because we trained him in cloud security, and for him, it was nothing to take the exam. So what most people do is they spend 3 to 6 months, they get the certifications, they're completely unhireable, and then they need to spend a year to learn the right skills and the right training. I'm saying, learn the right skills right now. They're going to take you 6 months to a year. Spend 3 weeks to a month to get the certification, and then apply for your jobs, unless you get hired before that. And if you get hired before that, it's a win. Because it's easy to do these certifications once you know. It's hard otherwise. For fun, I took the Google Professional Cloud Architect because it's the hardest of the cloud certifications. I prepared for it for 2 days. And of course, I passed it. Now, why? It's because I already knew the cloud, and all I had to learn was Google's names. That's all that certification was about. It was basically their names and simple stuff. So learn the cloud, then get the certification. Or learn the cloud, get hired, and then get the certification. But job knowledge always comes first. And that way you'll be hired faster.
All right. Why do senior management have contempt for software engineers?
It's not that senior management has contempt for anybody. Here's what a lot of engineers do. They don't talk. You ask them to do something. That's who management has contempt for. I know software engineers that are good and personable that have $300,000 jobs because they're that good at it and they're likable. They don't have contempt for people that don't have emotional intelligence. They have contempt for people that don't communicate well. They have contempt for people that they don't understand because people are afraid of and don't like what they don't understand. So if you've got a manager that's focused about the business and you got an engineer of some kind that's coming to the class and they're talking about how do we drive sales and the engineer is talking about their code, they're not going to like them. Likewise, if they've got an engineer and the manager is talking about, wow, we got a customer, they've got a problem, what could we do? And that software engineer is saying, well, you know, the real problem's here, but we could do this, this, or this, then poof, they like the software engineer. Now, if the software engineer is on their phone, chewing gum, like a cow, for example, texting on their phone, they're going to dislike them. And when you call someone and they don't answer your phone call, which a lot of techies, they're so focused on the text, they don't do it. That's what it is. So people tend not to like antisocial people. There just happens to be a disproportionate number of software engineers that tend not to be social. They're the people that get held back. Again, it goes to emotional intelligence, which is the best predictor of long-term career success. A lot of people that have low levels of emotional intelligence pick careers where they don't have to talk to people. In the end, they don't go ahead anyway. Now, if they train their emotional intelligence, they'd be fine. And follow Shaki, we always have what's called the distinguished engineer, and they're $300,000 engineers. And what are they? They're engineers with sales skills, business acumen, leadership skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, and CXO relevancy. Wait, they're the same things that an architect has. And wait, they're the same thing as a manager has. So speak the same language as your clients, do the same things as your clients, then everybody's going to love you, regardless of your career.
All right, let's see.
Would you regard a credential in, for example, organizational leadership from a credible business school as being more valuable than IT certifications? If so, when should candidates add it to their CV as and/or resume?
Well, first, I find an MBA more valuable than anything else that's out there. And when do you add an MBA to your resume? When you finish one, when you have one. You can't put anything you have. It's like I like to see these. I see these people all the day. CCIE in progress. That's a liar. I can't hire them. I'm not going to waste my time interviewing them. MBA in progress. That's like they're saying I already have something that I didn't have. Resume, trash. And here's why. I can't hire a liar. So you put it on once you've achieved it. I wouldn't put down gold medalist and in the Olympics unless I had a gold medal. And I wouldn't put down a certification that I didn't have. And I also wouldn't put down the organizational leader certificate until I had finished the degree. So, that's when you add them to your CV, when you've achieved them. And I'm assuming by organizational leadership, you mean a master's degree.
I got a feeling what they're talking about are these certificate programs that universities are putting out now that require 3, maybe 4 classes to complete.
Oh, I don't value them at all.
And they're a certificate program. They're not an actual accredited degree or anything like that.
Oh yeah, I would just consider that a waste of time. I wouldn't waste my time, effort, or money on those things. Anything that's too easy, and people know that you can do in a weekend or a month, is no big deal.
All right. Oh, done that one.
From Joey, can you become a solutions architect without a solution architect associate or professional certification?
Of course you can. And I've had students that have done it in the past. But you have to have the knowledge. I mean, I don't care if somebody's got a certification. I've spoken to plenty of chief information officers. They don't care. I've spoken to thousands of hiring managers. They don't care. Now, am I going to be more likely to interview you if your resume looks good? The answer is yes. Will a certification help your resume look good to help me be more inclined to interview you? The answer is yes. Will I hire you because you've got 1,000 certifications? If you've got more than 3, I'm not even interview anybody because I figure they're wasting their time on certifications and not learning career skills. But there's nothing, but I would definitely get one to enhance my marketability in terms of interviews. And I would also understand that there's nothing in the certification that's going to get anybody a job ever, except for the CCIE that's going to get somebody a good network engineering job. But of course you can, as long as you have the skills. So why don't you download the completely free Cloud Architect Job Guide, and that will give you 100% of the skills that you need to learn to become a great cloud architect. You have these skills, you'll get a job. And it has nothing to do with your certifications, nothing, 0.
All right, from Miss Lyman Jammin. How do we this is a good one. How do we warm up our network of recruiters who have previously reached out to us, but we weren't ready? How to manage speaking to 20 plus recruiters simultaneously? Yeah, that's a good question, because presumably we've told them, we're comfortable in our role, not looking for anything at this point. And so now you're ready.
Miss Lyman Jammin, and I know you. So let's say I've got a rock star like you. And maybe we told you, hey, I think you're ready to go out there and get hired. And you've been very smart in collecting recruiters all the time. Here's what I would do. Hey, Alonzo, the recruiter, it's Miss Lyman Jammin. It's been about 6 months since we spoke. At the time, I told you that I wasn't ready, but I'm ready now. That's exactly what I would do. I'd pick up the phone, and in the finance industry, they call it dialing for dollars. And here I would basically go out there and call people. Now it's totally appropriate for you to send an email first and set up a time to speak, but I would go out there and reach out to them and talk. AT&T used to have the best marketing campaign when I was a kid. They used to say, reach out and touch someone. That was when it used to be like 25 cents a minute to dial long distance. And reach out and touch someone meant you got to spend a lot of money really fast. It's not the sniper combination of reach out and touch someone. It's a totally different one. It was the AT&T commercial. And that's exactly what I would do, Miss Lyman Jammin. Miss Lyman Jammin, I'm hearing you these days. You're carrying yourself like an elite leader. You got some good, strong knowledge to go out there, dial for some dollars, Go out there and reintroduce yourself, and I think you're going to do great.
And they keep a spreadsheet.
Yes.
To keep track of your contacts.
And always make sure you follow up with a thank you or something equivalent so that you can showcase your ability for EQ as well as appreciation for their efforts.
Yep. All right, Diggleman says, does your LinkedIn have to be an exact match to your resume?
Well, it can't. And here's the reason. You should have multiple resumes. And you can't really have multiple LinkedIn profiles. I have multiple resumes. I have a resume to be a healthcare architect. Why? Because I was a lead healthcare architect for practically a decade at one of the world's largest technology companies. I used to practice medicine as a nurse practitioner, and it focuses on, consulted to the National Health Service, for example, in Scotland, consulted to the country of Australia about their healthcare delivery, consulted to Kaiser Permanente, consulted to to Hospital Corporation American. It's got my what do you call it? My healthcare stuff. I've got another finance resume. Designed this solution for Merrill Lynch. Designed this solution for Knight Securities. Did this in the banking industry. Now, they're both completely honest resumes, but in one I talk about healthcare and another one I talk about banking. Now, I consulted to probably 6 of the 10 of the world's largest internet service providers on how to design their networks. I got one for internet service providers too. I have another resume as a CEO, and I have another one as a management and strategy consultant because they're all the careers that I've had. So you need to personalize your resume for the type of job that you're actually looking for. Now, this does not mean take your resume, stick it into ChatGPT, have it spit out something that's job specific for the resume, for the job, going over things that you don't care, so you can't do, so you're going to bomb the resume, and giving a resume with no soul and no feeling where the manager's going to read it and they're going to say trash. But it means you should have multiple resumes for similar jobs that are slightly different to better position yourself. That is normal and standard. Every doctor's got multiple resumes, every lawyer's got multiple resumes, every architect's got multiple resumes, every professional. And so they need to be similar. And one thing that I'll tell you, if it's on your resume, it must be truthful. I mean, I may have written 150 magazine articles. Actually, I have. I'm going to position different articles on different resumes because they're more appropriate. On one, I might put my Forbes articles down and my Investors Business Daily articles down. And another one, I'm going to highlight my CIO and Tech Republic, Tech Radar Information Week. So build it for your brand, kind of like Chevy, GM, Honda, Mercedes. They have different products and they have different advertisements. What is your resume? It's simply an advertisement. This is why should I interview you? It does no other purpose other than that. And Honda is going to have multiple ads for different cars, different buyers. You're going to have different resumes too. You're going to have one LinkedIn profile. So make it the best it can be of the best.
Is there any type of reference that new potential cloud architects can use to learn about business problems that have been solved or need to be solved in the cloud?
So Fiji, I kind of want to help you here, and I want you to really understand what the architect job is. This is not a technician job. Here's what a technician is. These are common problems. These are common solutions. I was a paramedic. It's a technician job. If you're looking for common business problems and how to solve them, you don't want to be an architect. I mean, you do, but you're not getting architecture. Imagine a doctor. Basically, an architect and a doctor are the same thing. Here's your common diseases and here's your common formulas. Guess what? I could teach you how to do that, how to prescribe medication in less than 1 year for the most common problems. I could. What happens when a person has another problem that's not related to it? What happens when the two businesses are different? And since Fiji, all two businesses are different, it's not about learning what worked in one place and trying to shove it into somebody else. It's about learning how do I deal with the person, the business, and the unique situation that they are. So it's more about learning how business works. How does sales occur? What needs to be done via sales? How does a business operate? What goes on in business operations? What do business architectures actually look like? How do you evaluate an organization's balance sheet? How do you look at an organization's financial statement? What are the principles of macroeconomics that you need to adhere to because they're going to change the market forces? What are the microeconomic principles that you actually need? What is the organization's weighted average cost of capital, and how does that determine whether they should rent or buy? What are the current, how does that compare versus the current interest rates? What is the amount of cash an organization has stands? What is the amount of debt an organization has there? Does the organization have to pay a dividend to a shareholder? And if so, what is that impact on profitability? You know, all these kind of things, organization, you need to think about. So you can't just learn if this and then this. You need to either go get an MBA or take the kind of training we provide where we go over these situations and how do you deal with the actual problem. So we can't just look. I kind of hate like little architectures here. Somebody posts, this is how this company did their architecture. And then you can see an engineer who's not an architect say, guess what? This is what you should do. Well, no, it works for them, but it doesn't work for somebody else. You need to be able to design it every single time. What is the business problem? How does the company make money? No two companies are the same. What is it special about the organization's intellectual property? These are the kind of things you need to learn. And it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. And that's why, you know, our training is 700 hours, for example. And that's why the 10-hour certification trainings don't cover it. You have to learn it. You could learn it from us. You can get an MBA, but you just got to learn it. And even the MBA and learning it from us, I tell my students to read Business Week, to read the Wall Street Journal, to read the Financial Times, to read The Economist. It's about honing your craft. And it takes a lot of time to get the right things, but that's what I would do. If you're an architect already and you don't have an MBA, I'd get one or get our tech leadership program. If you don't, and in addition to that, I'd read the Wall Street Journal. I'd read the Financial Times too. I'd read The Economist. I do. And that was the big shift when I went from engineer to architect a long time ago. And this is why many engineers that become architects actually destroy their careers. I'm going to say it right now. They still try to configure the technology. They still try to get techie because they think they're going to be better. I'm a super good engineer and I'm a super good architect. But in the end, the architect needs these business skills. And they take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of nurturing and a lot of love to develop. We're not technicians. And that's why, you know, to be successful, let's say we were an engineer, now we want to be an architect. That's our past life. This is our new life. And I'll tell you right now, I wake up, I watch the financial news every single morning, or at least an hour. I typically get out my Wall Street Journal, although I kind of get a digital version these days, so I don't have a lot of garbage to throw away and my hands don't feel super sticky from the newspaper every day. And I've been doing this since I've been an architect since, since early 2000. When I left my engineering career and went into architecture, so for that long, but that's what I do. But yeah, get an MBA, go to business things, go to CXO relevancy things, go to the C-suite. In fact, Fiji, I probably have about $100,000 of training after my MBAs. And I did two, actually. One at Drexel and one at Widener. That's the kind of thing, because it's not about if this, then this. It's about what do I do in this particular situation.
All right. So just to let everybody know, we will be wrapping up in about 15 minutes. So if we run out of time for questions, we will be back on Wednesday, actually. So we're going to try and get through all the questions that have already come in. How does someone get ahead of the image limitations of their home country? Some recruiters will simply ignore if you're from certain countries.
You know, Shadrach, I don't know of any recruiter that wouldn't take advantage of someone that's in another country. And here's the reason why. Well, some recruiters might, but some other companies would. We're in a world where it's very hard to find somebody good. We're in a world where people feel like going on strike all the time. Guess what? There's a limited number of good people that are out there that you can possibly hire, and they're all over the world. Shadrach, right now on this call, we've got Tyrone from my team, and he's in Cape Town. Right now, he's actually behind the scenes, you know, putting the questions up. At the same time, I've got Anselm over there making some AWS videos over there in Cameroon. I've got Eddie in Bamenda, Cameroon. I also have Manuela editing videos right now in Colombia. And I have Leo, who's a rock star, helping with my students who's sitting over there in Sao Paulo, Brazil. There may be some recruiters that are not intelligent enough to leverage the wonderful people all over the world, but there are also people that are smart enough to do it, smart enough to see the talent of the wonderful people in every part of the world. So, Shadrach, what are you doing to build your brand out there? What are you doing to show the world how wonderful you are? You show me you're impressive, I'm going to reach out to you, period. I don't care where you're at. And that's really the kind of thing. So, I'll give you an example. I have people that said, I'm in a cloud engineering bootcamp and I installed an Apache web server on an AWS EC2 instance. When I see that, I go, oh my God, why is this person showing me they're doing an intro level thing? And more importantly, it's 3 Linux commands. Why are they turning this into 20 pages? Do not hire. And then I see some kid in the middle of nowhere, and they write this beautiful thing about this new technology and how it can change lives and impact business. And I say, who is this person? Let me reach out to him on LinkedIn. And Shadrach, I have a feeling, I think I know where you're at. I'm pretty sure we've spoken in the past. Go out there and show the world why you are special. Show them your knowledge. Show them your desire to innovate. Show them your desire to work hard and outwork anyone. Show them how creative you are. How can they not love you? How can they not come after you? I don't care what country you're in. And quite frankly, I don't care if my person is in California, Chicago, the Cayman Islands, Cape Town, South Africa, Cameroon, or give me another C. Well, I'm running out of C things. Obviously, I like the Cookie Monster who like things with began with the C like cookies. But, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Do that, and you'll find the right people. Not everybody's the right person, but you'll find them.
All right. If an employee is more qualified than their manager, difficult, fun situation to be in, and wants to progress in a career, what can they do, assuming the manager begrudges them and their achievements?
Well, one of 2 things are going on. A lot of times the employee thinks they're more qualified than their manager, but they have a different set of skills. This happens commonly with engineering. The manager knows nothing about engineering, and they know all about management. And the engineer thinks they know everything about engineering, and they don't know why their manager doesn't know, and they think they're unqualified. It's a different set of skills. Now, there are times where people have a bad manager. So the first thing I would always say when people are here is, what are they showing their manager? If the manager asks them to do something, do they say yes? Or do they push back? If the manager communicates with them, is the person always happy and responsive? When a manager sends an email, does you respond quickly or do you respond over the course of hours and slowly? Assuming you're responding to messages quickly, you're saying yes to things, you're doing things, and you've got a good answer, then you need to think, do I get a new job? Because if you've got a bad manager, sometimes the only way out of it is a new job or switch to a new department in your company. But I question that more qualified, because what the manager's qualifications are to be the manager don't need to be your qualifications. The best managers I've had in tech didn't know anything about the tech, but they were good leaders. And they'd say, Mike, what do I need to do with the tech? Because they knew that was my domain, and they were a good manager. They sent me to the training I needed. If I needed somebody to fight for something on my behalf, they did it, but they didn't try to do my job, and I didn't try to do their job. So I don't know what more qualified means, because in most cases, it's a different job. Seniority means nothing to me. I don't care if somebody's got 20 years experience and somebody's got none. Capability means everything to me. So kind of think about those. But you can always go to a new job if it doesn't work. And if the person is truly much more qualified for their manager, they'll have an easy time getting a new job anywhere. Why? Because if they're that qualified, there's a shortage of jobs for really good qualified people. They can get hired anywhere.
Right. So the next one is currently our last question. If you've got any more questions, put them in the chat box so we can get to them. Does it matter where I do my MBA?
Not really. So there used to be a rule, top 10 or anybody else. What is top 10? Duke, Harvard, Yale, Columbia, MIT. But in today's world, I don't even know if it matters, because we have schools like NYU firing professors for making it hard. And once we reach that point where the schools which were better are known to be more elite are now firing people for making it hard, then we're all back down to the same thing. So I don't think it matters where you do your MBA. Quite frankly, I'd say do where you can get a good deal on it. If you can do your MBA for only $50,000, it's a pretty darn good deal. If you have to pay $300,000 for it, chances are it's probably not worth it. But a good MBA is going to cost $50,000 to $150,000. There's just no way around it. Getting an elite education, which gives you the best jobs, is an investment in yourself and you. But I don't think it would matter. But I wouldn't go to what I wouldn't do. Sure, I would consider a Harvard, Yale, a Duke, a London Business School. Yeah, definitely, and I would pay for it. I would also do an inexpensive school like a state university where you get a great education, like Temple University, University of Florida, those kind of things. But I wouldn't go to some private school that's not in the top 10, where it's $100,000 a year or $2,000. Don't. I wouldn't do that. I think it's a waste of time. And money.
All right, and just so everybody knows, you can find the replay of this on our YouTube channel once it's over. So that will be there for you. Let's see. Can a person attain a management position in a different company without having been one before?
You mean how does a manager get their first job? Yeah, of course. Every manager had a job where they weren't a manager before. 100% of them. Nobody was born a manager. So yes, absolutely.
Right.
If they've got the right skills. Okay, so a couple things. I'm going to try and do this again Wednesday this week just to give you some extra questions. Tomorrow, my friend and colleague David Lithicum, he and I from 2 to 4, we're going to talk about multi-cloud architectures, hybrid clouds, super clouds, hybrid multi-cloud, and it's going to be good. We'll talk about why, we'll talk about the challenges they present, and the two of us together have almost 75 years experience in architecture. And it's going to be a good discussion. You'll hear two people from different perspectives that are similar in background. I think you're going to have a great, great time. We currently have Alonzo's 30% discount for Alonzo's birthday. For me and Alonzo and Chris, every day somebody gets hired, that's a big celebration for us. And we know if we pack our schools now, we'll get a whole lot of celebrations 6 to 12 months from now when they're hired. Because we celebrate every person that gets hired. So we celebrate our birthday by giving a discount. So last one we're going to run for a while. So please take advantage of it while it exists right now. Please download the completely free How to Become a Cloud Architect guide. Please join us on Thursday for the free Cloud Architect webinar. And I hope to see all of you tomorrow when David and I talk about multi-cloud architecture.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Excited to be here. Alonzo clickety-clacking in over there on the keyboard. Any last words from you, Alonzo?
Yeah, thank you. You know what? I can't say it enough that you guys have taken the time to celebrate my birthday with me. It was an exciting time. I really enjoy watching everyone start and begin their journey through Go Cloud Careers to become cloud architects and maybe even enterprise architects as well. So we have what you need. We know what to do. We've been there. We have the experience to showcase, and what our students who have graduated from to go on to become to get into these specific roles, they come back and reflect that they're doing exactly in the real world what we train here. So don't hesitate. Don't wait. If you have any questions, please get on the calendar. The information is on our website. Schedule a call with us, and we'll talk in depth about anything you need to be more confident in working with us at Go Cloud Careers. But to that note, wherever you go, whatever you want to do, make sure that the information we shared with you is applicable and move on to your next role in life.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. See you all tomorrow on the show with David and Mike at 2 o'clock. And we'll see you Wednesday on another Q&A. And we'll see you Thursday for for the webinar. And of course, if you've just enrolled in one of our programs, we'll see you in class tomorrow. So thank you all. Have a good evening.
Take care, everyone. Have a good one.